So, how is Civ 7 doing? Okay, the numbers suggest very badly, but I do think the picture is a little more complex than this, especially when you look at all the updates that have come to the game since launch. So today, let's answer the question, is Civ 7 worth revisiting 6 months later? Hey up, I'm Alex, I'm a proud Yorkshireman who makes videos like this every single week. Let's get into it. There is literally only one place we can start in this video, and that is with bugs and playability, because on launch this game was a mess, right? Like, who remembers looking at the tech tree on day one? I looked at it and I could not for the life of me figure out which tech led to which other tech. It was a mess, and it sums up how the game launched. The UI was a mess, it was buggy as hell, and do you know what else? It was missing a ton of very basic, very key features. There was no large maps, scouts didn't even have auto-explore, and we were unable to rename cities. In what has got to be the smallest ever win ever, this AAA game, which cost me £120 at launch, is now playable. Well, I guess it's better than it being not playable, but yeah, big progress has been made on this front. So things like the UI are now much more usable, there's not as many bugs in the game, I don't really notice too many at all, and those missing features I talked about are now in the game, thank God. I can now rename every city to the name of a Yorkshire city because I'm very sad and have nothing better to do. Now don't get me wrong, there is still work to do. The UI, for example, although much better, still needs more work. A lot of us are using mods on Steam to fill gaps that the UI should fill. Like, we don't even have map tags. So detailed map tags mod is absolutely essential to how I play Civ 7. And we're also missing other features still, like hot seats not in the game. So things aren't perfect, but they are probably where they should have been when the game launched. You have probably seen one of the many videos on YouTube talking about Civ 7's new mechanics and just how divisive they are. So really we need to revisit them, don't we? Are they still a problem? What do you guys think? Because I've got answers to that too from something I put on the community post. Let's start with crisis events. I was so wrong about these. Like, I was excited when I first heard about them. I thought that sounds like a good way of keeping players on their toes right until the end of an age. In reality, I hate them. In reality, I think they suck the fun out of the end of an age. I don't like them at all. Now, thankfully, progress has been made. With this, you can now turn off the ones you don't like. I don't like the plague, funnily enough, so I turn those crisis events off, but they are still in the game. They're still a fundamental feature of an age. I'd like the ability to just use them like game modes in Civ 6, where you can just turn them off completely. I have so little positive things to say about crisis events. It turns out they were crap anyway. They're still crap, and they're still there. Okay, that was kind of grumpy of me, but thankfully it's not all bad news. Because another of the game's most troublesome mechanics was ages and age transitions. That has got so much stick since Civ 7 launched. If you didn't know, and I'm sure you do, Civ 7 split into 3 different ages, feels very different in each age with different mechanics, a different civilization, just everything's different, okay? The problem with this is that too much was different at launch. There was not enough continuity from one age to another. Now thankfully the devs are listening, because the latest update, I don't know what that means, latest update has brought a lot of changes. So we now get a countdown that can be locked in 10 or 20 turns before the end of an age to give you that time to consider your next moves. Do you want to start a war? Do you want to build a wonder? You will know how long you have left now, because before this, age transitions would, as I said in my last video, jump out at you and mug you, just out of nowhere. So that's a nice fix. And then we also just have generally more continuity from one age to another. So unit positions and units are now preserved from one age to another. That's a game setting, by the way. You don't have to play like that if you love change for some reason. But the whole thing just feels smoother and a lot more connected, which is lovely. I'm not saying it's perfect, there's still a lot of work to do to make the ages feel satisfyingly connected in a way that a Civ game should feel, but progress has been made here, we're going in the right direction, so I'm pretty positive on this one. I cannot for the life of me understand this next part, so I thought I'd try and visualize it with my incredible drawing skills. I'm going to draw some people. I'm not bothered. Yes, it might look weird, but I'm making my point. So here we have the devs. Human, no, that's too big. Why is that writing so big? Why does Paint think you'll go straight into 220 size font? So there we have 4 people around a desk and the topic of humankind comes up, and as we all know, that did very badly. Somebody around this table says let's do that, and everybody else says yeah. They thought that's failed, we'd love to do that. Yes, Civ switching is still a thing in Civ 7, in the Antiquity, Exploration and Modern. You will play as a different civilization. It's just how it is. Now, I don't understand why they did it. I think Civ switching is against everything that's made Civilization successful over the years. But there you go. It's not gonna change in my opinion. But one thing they are starting to do is almost give a bit of an alternative to fans, I think. So let me explain. Civ 7 launched with 2 civilizations that were represented in each of the game's 3 ages. Those civilizations are China and India, and I think that is going to be a template for many more Civs in Civ 7, because who moans about playing as China or India in different ages? It's fine, because basically it's the same Civ. And we've started to see this. In the latest DLC we got the Qajar, basically a modern Iran, Persia. So there's now that path there, where you can play as Persia in the Antiquity, you can play as the Abbasids in Exploration, and the Qajar in Modern. Yeah, it's not that classic 1 Civ per game, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think that's where Civ 7 and Civ switching is going. So before I give you my take on whether it's worth revisiting Civ 7 6 months on, why don't we see what you had to say? So I asked you in a poll, do you think it's worth revisiting? And nearly 70% of you said no, and the comments were pretty damning as well, so it's quite clear that a lot of fans don't think it's worth going back to at this stage, and I think I've got to agree with them. What I would say is that if you've already purchased the game, I think it's worth revisiting after all the updates. Maybe you'll actually like some bits, and the game does have some strengths. I think that Commanders, for example, that's probably the best way that a Civ game has done military units for a long time, and it makes combat very fun. So there are things in Civ 7 worth checking out, but would I recommend picking it up if you've not already paid for it? Sadly, I can't do that right now. I think the game still has a long way to go before I can do that. So if you're still enjoying Civ 6, I'd wait. Maybe with a few more updates and more fixes, I'll be able to recommend Civ 7 to you, hopefully, in the next 12 months. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. You can check out another one of our Civ videos on screen now, and I'll catch you soon.